ones that are looking good. I mean, look at what's the guy out in San Francisco.
Yeah.
You know, Purdy. It's Purdy. Yep, 5-0.
I had a friend of mine flew yesterday with his girlfriend to Kansas City. She's from Kansas City, so she had all her KC Mahomes on, and he's been a lifelong Denver Bronco fan, so he had his Bronco swag on and was, had nothing to cheer
Not to digress too much here, but we have a number of our kids went to Texas Tech, which is with Mahomes. So and so we kind of have a little bit of a soft heart for Mahomes, but not for KC.
Well, you know where Brock Purdy went to college, right?
Pardon me?
You know where Brock Purdy went to college? He went to Iowa State.
Iowa State. I remember. I was going to say it's in the Midwest. I was thinking at first like up north there, but it's Iowa.
Iowa Hawkeyes.
And just to run that theme is they're doing all sorts of comparisons between him and Tom Brady because he was actually picked at a lower level than even last person 262 out of 262.
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant is what they call that draft pick. It's pretty wild.
It was
He
pretty
is
wild.
like really good.
Well,
That's
look.
a long time to sit there and wait to be picked.
It is. It is.
And got him cheap. Yeah.
That's why there's all the comparisons with
His salary
Brady.
is like 900,000, or that's not chump change, but
It is for if you're
you're
a platform quarterback and winning number one record in the league, he'll probably renegotiate.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look, let's get started here. Just I want Nathan to start out first, just because I think as we progress this, I think he's going to be more and more in the pocket for events. So from that standpoint, why don't I turn it over to you?
Sure. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you to anybody who's watching us on the live stream right now. I have just a couple of things I want to mention just for informational purposes. We started mosquito spraying in the city on Tuesday.
Did they carry the truck off?
Not yet. Yeah, there's
attack.
It got pretty bad pretty quickly once it started raining. So we're spraying on Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 11 is the plan right now. We will add a third night depending on conditions if it gets worse. I understand that Harris County also does some spraying, and so if they come in, we'll kind of coordinate with them, but we're going to plan to do our own at least 2 or 3 nights a week with public works staff conducting that. So you may see them out during those hours. If the weather's bad, wind, rain, they'll switch to a different day, but the plan is 3 days a week, 2 days a week at least, possibly a third. So appreciate them for doing that, and hopefully that will cut down on the annoyance of mosquito problems that we've been seeing in the city. Also, speaking of public works, I just wanted to let everybody know we have an employee, Reyes Cruz Jr., who celebrated his 46th year of employment with the city on Wednesday. And that just blows my mind. I don't think in the future we're going to have a lot of people celebrating 46 years at one place. And so we're really proud of him, really thankful for him. Wanted to make sure he got some public recognition tonight. We'll probably talk about him a little bit more as we go too, but 46 years is an awesome thing. So if you see him out and about, please be sure to thank him and congratulate him. That's a great accomplishment.
He is a wonderful person.
Yeah,
he is a wonderful person, definitely. Yeah, we're thrilled to have him. And I think I heard that this is the only job he's had in his adult life, which is just incredible to dedicate that much time to public service. So
Another job hopper.
so we're really thankful for him. I wanted to acknowledge the mistake that was made. You probably noticed you didn't get a Compass Rose in the mail when you were supposed to earlier this month. Have anybody received that yet? Has anybody, do you know if you got one in the mail? Okay, you should be getting it hopefully today or tomorrow at the latest. We have a system where we have a utility file and a newsletter file, and there was a glitch in the system. Utility file got submitted first, newsletter file got submitted second, and the printer just ran with the utility file. So that won't happen again.
That's with a third party.
Yeah, it's with a third party.
It's not the city itself who made this mistake. It was the people who we have printed out.
So we made arrangements to do a separate mailing just of the Compass Rose, and Unfortunately, it's going out a little bit later than we hoped. It was supposed to be out earlier this week. We were told it was taken to the post office yesterday. So should be hitting your mailboxes hopefully today, no later than tomorrow. We do have the electronic version out everywhere we can get it, Facebook, website. We emailed it to people whose email addresses that we had in our system. So when you get it, please take a look. There's a ton of events coming up in the second half of October, all sorts of things going on. And I want to highlight one of those events that's coming up tonight, actually, is the open house over at the fire department and the EMS department. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm told they usually have a couple hundred people or more who show up to it, and you can use the fire hose, I think. You can see the equipment and talk to some of the great people.
With help.
With help, yeah. My young guys aren't going to want any help, but they're going to have some help there. But so please come out to that if you're interested. It'll be a good time to meet some of the people who work in those departments. And they have food as well. I think they're grilling some food, so it'll be a nice event tonight. So, and the Compass Rose also, when you get it, it'll have information about Halloween in the Park coming up on the 21st of October, the Fall Sweep coming up the first Saturday in November, and the full calendar of events for the rest of the month. So please take a look at that when it arrives. Also wanted to just give you an update on some things we did last week. The city of Nassau Bay was really well represented in Dallas last week. The Texas Municipal League had their annual conference, and it's huge. It's the first one I've been to, obviously, and there were thousands of people.
No question.
People from cities all over the state who get together to talk about best practices, to go through training sessions. And we had, the mayor was there. I think 4 council members were there. I was there. Zena, our city secretary, was there. And it was really good. It was a great conference.
Just for people to know, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Please, yeah.
The TML, the Texas Municipal League, is set up for a annual conference where they invite every elected official in the state of Texas. So as us being the second largest state in the union, you can imagine it pretty well filled up. And it also had a number of the different vendors that were there. So it was quite productive.
So is there any takeaways that we can implement right away?
I think what it is what we have found was there were people to help us with some of the vendors that we're doing for a lot of things relative to playground equipment, street curb repair, things along that line. There was also a lot of good training that went on, which was, went from everywhere to what's happening in the legislative body, which all of us should be concerned with how much control they're trying to have on local communities. So it was a huge topic and how to see exactly where lines have been drawn and how to coordinate. I'm probably going to get put on a task force that would be part of a TML sponsor to really educate the legislature on the impact that it's having on small cities. So we'll see. But no, I think from everything from waste removal to streets to water, a lot about water rates and how what we have done is now kind of what other people are following. So with how much infrastructure that needs to be done. So there was a lot of effort, a lot of focus on that. So
for me personally, I attended some of the breakout sessions, kind of giving overviews of Texas law, which is helpful for me being new. A lot of little differences between state to state and local government management. So that was really helpful for me. I attended sessions on emergency management, public works, organizational leadership development, and then lots of sessions about overviews of things we need to know day to day. So it was a good thing. And I hope, and I think it's been the case, and I hope it'll continue to be the case, that we want to take advantage of opportunities for our staff to be trained. We want continuing education opportunities whenever council has opportunities for things like that. I hope that we can continue to be really active. And it was I thought it was a really good week. And the first session I went to was a breakout, and that little breakout session was like what the whole conference would have been where I was previously. And so it was a huge conference, and we had a good time there and learned quite a bit.
And just so that people know, the other 4 council people were Lucy Sommer, James Abbey, Sarah Horton, and Michelle Weller.
Yep.
win.
Had a good group there. I want to also make a note about code enforcement today. As you all probably know, the mayor and the council has really emphasized this recently. The newest budget emphasized it. And there was a position created where we now have a full-time code enforcement person in the city again. Perry Henderson's handling that for us. And I'm not going to talk about sort of specific cases, but I do want to let you know that he's made a lot of progress on some good things in a really short amount of time, specifically in the area of abandoned cars, junk cars, high grass, illegal signage, which is a common thing. He's doing some really good things, and he's going to give a report to council on Monday that'll go into more detail. But so far, so good on that. He also has been really, really helpful in business registrations, which is something that's also a priority. We have a new ordinance that came into effect a few months with annual registrations. And so he's been handling the education of that, and it's gone well so far. So for those of you who are concerned about code enforcement, I think that the mayor and council's priorities on that, I think we're starting to see those things come into focus a little bit. So appreciate the work that Perry's doing, appreciate the work that—
Two things I'd like to make comment on this is our policy beforehand is rather than registering every single business that is in the city, if it was in a big building, we pretty much just tackled that big building. So from a fire standpoint, from just us knowing whether or not we're getting, the sales tax or things like that, we've tightened that ship, so to speak. And we have, in the course of 2 weeks, and he's not even nearly done, he's done, my understanding is like 40 businesses that hadn't been previously registered. And we think it's just the tip of the iceberg. And then we get $100 for each one. So that's $4,000 that is going to be paid towards, the work that officer is doing. So we actually had a belief that if we really brought people up to code and really had things there, that would be a self-paying position, and the city would just benefit from it, right? The other is that he's done a great job in some of the things here, and I know everyone's seen the difference with the 1910 NASA Parkway property right there at the corner of Upper Bay Road, and it almost. He says there's, I think last time I counted and I saw it went a little bit like this, but there's 6 cars up there, which is really great. So, but in any event, no, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, code enforcement's always a tough job. It's a mix of education and then enforcement. And so I think he's got a good handle on that, and we're excited to see how that develops over the years. Yeah.
So Phil and Nathan, so if you run a business in Nassau Bay, you are required by the city to be registered with Nassau Bay, and there's a $100 fee for that registration.
Correct.
Correct.
And that goes into a fire inspection and everything along that line.
Is that like our card where that has to be renewed each year?
Each year, correct.
Yeah.
And that wasn't being done?
It was not.
I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that a business was supposed to register when they initially were established, but there was no annual follow-up. I think that was the way it was written before.
Yeah. And
so now it's annual.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing much more here.
To be specific, are you talking also about businesses that are in residence? And people's homes?
So right now, I believe that is in scope of what's happening. I think he's focusing on the big buildings because it's a big bang. He walks down a hallway and gets 10.
That's a good question, though. I can look into that.
Yeah, my understanding is it is in the scope of what he's looking.
Because I know a number of businesses
There are.
that are in residence.
We actually get, if you look at the tax roll for sales tax, you see it too. So.
Is that where you find them? Is that the only place you can find them?
No, I don't know that, answer that question.
How you would find them.
So a lot of times there's eyes and ears of people is a big one, just like we did with the SDRs. And that's the other thing you may want to mention, but the tax rolls are a big one. And then there's eyes and ears and, just looking at the, internet, because usually people publish and where they're from. So, but those are the three that I'm aware of.
Has Officer Henderson transitioned totally then out of the police department and he's now only code enforcement?
Yeah, he's doing full-time code enforcement. I think it was effective September 16th, so it's about a month of it. And that's what I'm really happy about, that this early, we're seeing some real benefits from it. It's a tough thing to get started off the ground, but he's doing a great job with it. But it's been just about a full month of full-time code enforcement.
But I want to be clear here. Our intent was to keep Officer Henderson certified as a police officer, so that he'll actually be certified as a code enforcement, he'll be certified as a police officer, and he'll be certified as a fire marshal. So that,
blind pay and
Co-
capacity?
so that's what we did. And I think Nathan, I totally agree with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in looking at it, as he gets his certifications, as he does the things that enhances the ability, we are compensating him additionally.
And we're actually looking into certification pay right now to our policy on it to make sure that everyone who receives certain certifications are compensated appropriately for that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And short-term rentals are also within the scope of code enforcement, obviously. So that's another priority that he's working on. I know that's been talked about a lot in recent months, and that's something that he's tackling.
I want to say something about short-term rentals too, because, and I'll do a shout out if she's watching, Mary Abraham. She runs a really great, STR. She's an owner occupied one, which is probably the best. But Officer Henderson has really gone after the people who've been breaking the law, which is not registering, not paying hotel motel tax, not putting the insurance and things along that line. And I understand that there's something like 26, B&Bs or air, STRs that have been taken off the Nassau Bay market because of this. And that allows people who really run them well to have hopefully a better business environment for them. So, okay.
Is there any status as far as the smoke shop?
Yeah, there is. You want me to take that one? Or you want to think? There is, you'll see the agenda is going to get published this afternoon, and the final act of the process for a specific use permit is on the agenda. So as of probably about 10 o'clock tomorrow, there'll be a definitive action on whether or not there'll be a specific use permit granted or not. And I'll leave it there. And I think people, let the voices be heard. But again, I've not heard anybody come to me to say we've got to have a smoke shop in our thing. And not only that, I mean, I'm just going to say here is I went down and really investigated the sister shop down in Galveston, and they definitely market some really what I call pathway type of products. Delta 9, Delta 8, Delta 6. Delta 9 is truly THC, which is the active ingredient of that. Delta 8, Delta 6, they modify it to a like molecule, so there's no laws over it. They had things that had like synthetic urine. They had masking products for how to get out of a test for employment purposes. Or, if you look right behind there, 20 yards, there's a adolescent substance abuse clinic. And to have those kind of drugs right there in front of a clinic, one means our zoning laws apply here, just very clearly. So I have a full belief that we're going to enforce our zoning laws, if that helps.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mayor, the things I covered were my list, and I know you have some other things.
I do. Some of the things here, which I'm really liking, is Paul's making some headway. I just want to emphasize Paul Lopez, that we found our way in the budget. The EDC has, I think, done the first reading. It'll be coming to council, but we're going to be getting 20 more majestic modules. And I think I've made mention of that before, but I believe that beautification is a real important part of our city. The 20 will be split in half, that there'll be 10 right in front of the Hilton and 10 right there on the other side as you come off the bypass. So the very first median would be there. So we'll have a very large, majestic jewels as you come in, whether it's the east or west, and then we'll have them in the center. And I think we're going to stop there. I'll give a shout out to the management district. So the people like Mark Denman, Bill Rockner, Ann Thomas, and others, Pete Soroka. They're going to be replacing and upgrading the lights, and I think we may even actually work to try to do a collaboration to light up the trees at either end also, not just the ones in the center. That's to be determined, but I think there's a desire from all parties that would be a really good thing for Nassau Bay.
And I'll add to that, Mayor, too, that funding for that has already been approved at the last meeting that we had at Nassau.
For the one in the center of this, between Upper Bay and Point Lookout is what I understand.
Yep, and those lights, the new lights will be installed before Christmas and then synchronized with the lights for holiday.
Correct. What I've heard from this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, is you've taken the opportunity to upgrade the technology also.
Correct.
If you notice, some of them, we've always had some reliability issues with these lights. Some of them aren't the right color. Sometimes they don't come on. And these are going to be much more reliable. And instead of having to call out somebody from, downtown to come maintain them on a box right there by the Wendy's, they'll actually be done. It's a web modified, so you could actually do things on Paul Lopez's phone.
And each one of the housing for each light now is much more quality and does not get impacted from rain and weather and cold, et cetera.
My understanding too is the LED portion, the other ones were LED, but the technology is gone, that the amount of lumens that are going up is going to get increases. Those are big trees, folks. Those are 20-foot, growing a foot, at least a foot every year. And it takes a lot of light. And I remember when we did them before, there were lights on both sides, which is still going to do, but the more lumens, the more those trees get lit up. So I'm all for that.
So are these new lights? They're not the lights that were there before?
Yeah, I'll defer to Pete, but my understanding is they're completely yanking out the old ones, but the power lines and the cement foundation is going to stay, and they're going to use that infrastructure to be able to just replace the new ones.
And that's why it's much less expensive than the first original installation, because you don't have to do the groundwork of laying the foundation.
Correct.
This is just putting the light in with the new updated technology and housing of each light unit.
And we believe from some of the work before, we've got power at the International Space Station Serpentine, wall that's there, that says a monument there, and that there is power at the other end that we had put in before. So we think we can do this fairly inexpensively. We'll see. More to come. The other thing is the monument. There's been some progress there. We did finally get a explicit bid for taking down the monument, and it's coming in at $15,000. So it is the lowest cost route to do that. And it's got to come back, I think, it's going to come to the EDC with I think Paul's working with TxDOT and things like that.
Yep.
But that is lower cost than to repair it. There's obviously issues with its height for to be able to even put the city of Nassau Bay on it. And I believe that this is probably the bid that's going to take down the monument. So I just want everybody to know that. In the Compass Rose, it didn't go out, but I wanted to emphasize something. I'm really pleased with the budget, and there's two aspects of it that I want to be clear. I can't say this enough to make sure everyone's aware. The strategy that the city council took was to to really try to do everything on the no new revenue rate. And we were successful in doing that. And when I mean the no new revenue rate, I specifically mean that the dollars for each year stay the same. Not having the same rate, but having the actually same dollar amount. And the only exception to that is, we got a sticker shock as we went forward that the ladder truck that I think everybody knows about our ISO rating and the things along that line had ballooned by almost $1 million. And while I value myself and council as good fiscal people, there was no way we could finance a whole $1 million increase. We figured we could do that on about $300,000 of capitalization. So your bills and your property taxes only went up in order to make sure we could ascertain a ladder truck. And if people are not happy with that, if people say that, I specifically ask in the Compass Rose to let us know. So far, for those who are wondering what thing, so far I've gotten a very almost unanimous, agreement that, we need to keep our ISO rating. ISO rating, for those who are listening who may not know what I'm talking about, is the insurance auditor that measures our competency and capacity to fight fires. In particular, this is the one here, and we almost lost our number 2 rating, and just a 1 tier lower at number 3 would probably cost everybody about a minimum, or no, the average would be about $300,000 per homeowner per year in perpetuity, unless we got that capability back. So we actually believe that not only will we save money by being able to put a PO down immediately and not see the fly up. I know Tom and the volunteer fire department are actively working. They're going to be looking at putting in a PO imminently, because we now have the capitalization to do it, and that'll lock in the price. We won't have future risk associated with the cost of it. It's going to take about 3 years. We've got the first year capitalized with here. We will not. I do not believe we will need other tax revenue for that. So we will have a ladder truck as soon as they can build it, which I'm estimating is to be 3 years. So that's what the manufacturer. I mean, look at our ambulance. If Tom or the chief was here, it's been 2 years just for an ambulance. So it's that kind of thing. The other comment I'd like to make is, again, just a shout out to our public works guys. We're coming to the end game for our street repairs, and I believe you can really see a difference in the city. The city looks much better with the repairs it's done, and it'll total. I believe it was originally targeted for the 2 periods about 46 spots. I believe the total, he picked up 2 more based off input. So I believe there's 48, and I don't mean just little things, 48 sections of concrete, whole street sections that have been replaced, or multiple street sections have been replaced. And there's one thing recently that I've gotten a lot of calls about, is just how well that contractor, the new contractor, was doing that. Has just made a big difference to the city. And then, yeah, sure, absolutely.
I do know that we're already looking at the next phase of street repair. It'll be a few months worth of evaluating that with engineers, and then we'll probably be going out for bid early part of next year. But the drought did take a toll on a lot of infrastructure, including roads. And so if there's something you've noticed that's developed, cracks, breaks, things that you didn't see there before, please let us know. Report it to Paul, report it to me, so we can make sure that we have those areas looked at. Thanks.
And then the last thing, I've got some fairly good news on economic development, and some of it just is status. I understand the Luby's property has been sold. The folks that are looking at developing it are more likely going to be coming for a specific use permit. There may be some real discussion there because they want to bring in some more fast food and one of that's going to be what do you call it? A drive-through. Excuse me, I didn't. That may have some real difficulties. Just I'll be interested to see what happens on council. Yeah. So, but I mean, we'll find out. I think they tried to get a specific use permit before giving a plat as to what all they're going to do, and that's been corrected. So we'll find out exactly what they're going to do beforehand. But without deliberating, I think there's going to be some real scrutiny on exactly what goes in, for that. Something I think is really neat, and I'm going to give a shout out to Jim DeForest. He and his company, Eden Grow, I believe, has partnered with St. Thomas, that they're looking at getting some EDC funds in order to be able to put in what is apparently a offshoot of NASA technology, which is the technology to grow food with very little water, or it's one step further than hydroponic, where hydroponic is actually in water. They use a misting for it. And between St. Thomas for their, even though their school's not there, they're setting it up to be in preparation, and they're going to set up a standard, type of production thing so people can see it, and all the food is going to go into the surrounding food banks. And from what I understand, the amount of food that these things provide is going to make a real material difference to these food banks. And they're all the fresh vegetables, which are really hard for food banks to really get a handle on. And they'll be dedicated exclusively for that. And that'll be here inside of Nassau Bay. They had originally even tried to do the Luby's property, but it sold before they could get some investors to help them with that. But I think that's really, really neat. Novo Vita, also another, it's a Gloria Day 501c3 that's gearing towards mental health. They're looking at starting up operations specifically to serve our community, because Methodist has become kind of a center location for not just our police, but really the surrounding Clear Lake area. I think some people have heard me talk about this, is they drop off people that they really don't think have got criminal violations, that they think they have some, want to be brought in to be evaluated for some mental health. And there's kind of a little bit of a difference between what Methodist says and what the police say, but those people come in, and I think Gloria Day is looking at helping individuals, just not only those, but also the others, to help in this community problem. So more than likely, you'll see some construction at Gloria Day, or they'll find a place to do things. So remember the name Nova Vita for anybody in the city that may need some help from time to time. So that's coming up. The other is we've Nathan and I, as well as the folks at Bell Harbor, have had a introductory meeting with the Hilton. They gave us an update on their activity for refurbishing the Hilton. It is going to actively go into refurbishment in 2024. It looks like it's going to be the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter of 2024. And we are working with them to look to see how we might be able to do a collaboration with Bell Harbor, the city, and that to kind of redevelop that waterfront area right there. And I'm real hopeful for that, because that's in sore need of being redeveloped. And that would include potentially either, outdoor restaurants. It would be upgraded pool, maybe even a marina that is jointly managed between the Hilton and Bell Harbor. We're at the very beginning of that, but it's I think there's a lot of desire to see what can be done, because a lot of those facilities have passed their useful life and need to be updated sorely.
What about the townhomes or whatever it ended up being that were gonna be built just adjacent to the?
Yeah, so he's progressing with that. He's you know, he's looking to see about just, you know, I think he's still doing engineering under there. He's caught wind that the Hilton may be doing that, so he's trying to look at doing something collaboratively with the Hilton also, but we'll see. It's too early. He's actually, I think his main effort, and James knows a lot here too, has been to clear out all the debris in front of that waterfront area. I think if people saw, he put a big sailboat out. He's pulled, you know, a number of the concrete slabs out. He's pulled out quite a bit. So he's at that stage. And if you look at it, it's pretty well graded now. So it looks good.
So he's full steam ahead. He's got the green light and he's.
Yeah, there's nothing left for the city to do. He's going full steam ahead and he's looking at, should he make modifications depending on what happens at the Hilton. But
And with the Hilton, Phil, is the Hilton a corporate property or is it a franchise?
It's definitely a franchise. So the brand is Hilton, and it is operated by Ashford, which was acquired Remington. It used to be a very long managed Remington property, but it is an Ashford property, and they just renewed this is something they communicated when we met with them. They renewed the agreement with Ashford, with the Hilton, but they're a targeted, they say it's a PIP property. And, you know, I remember PIP, and it's kind of funny. It's the same thing as personal improvement program, right? Well, they have a property improvement program, and they reconfirmed that they're going to have two different contractors do two different rooms. Should be done here in January, and they're gonna bring in all their teams to assess which one's the best, and then they're gonna go floor by floor. And they said they're gonna go on each floor. They're gonna do one half, and then they'll flip over to the other half in what is called silent construction, whatever that means.
So what prompted them to take action, Phil? Was it you and the city? Because they've done nothing in like a decade.
I wish I had that much influence, Pete. I don't. I think the city has the ability to influence what some things can be as the outcome. But I believe Hilton stepped in, and I believe Hilton said this property does not meet the standard of our Hilton spec as a brand. And they said if there's not a property improvement plan, and I'm sure the contract has contingencies that if they don't exercise on that, then it will probably no longer be a Hilton property. And Ashford doesn't want to do that.
Not to give folks here a hard time. I had a year that I lived at the Hilton. I learned a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 2017, this whole project, you can even go into the Chronicle,
Mm-hmm.
where 34 million was designated for upgrading our Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, some hurricanes came
They
in the
did.
way.
I think
And
it's
they
Harvey.
were
Harvey came knocking.
Yes, well, 2008 that started a
correct.
nightmare. And then Harvey came and COVID came and the Hilton was completely shut down.
Yeah.
And the monies have sat there. And because I was living there when I saw a lot of the drawings, even what they did with the break room for the employees.
I remember.
They had started all of that, and everything was stopped. And then I heard through employees that they were back on track.
I think they definitely are on track. And I think some marketing competition has kind of said they got to get off the pot here. We've got Margaritaville as well as the Great Wolf Lodge coming on either side of them, not directly, but
Right.
in the area, which has I think not only that, the work, even the announcement with the Texas A&M, investment into NASA and Space Center Houston. I think they've realized that this area is getting ready to go into another notch of growth. another notch of destination, and they want to be a part of it, is what I heard from them. So.
Beyond the Hilton, the Windermere itself, the building and the marina, who owns that and maintains it?
So right now, the tennis courts, the Windermere, and the marina is all owned by the Val Harbor Homeowners Association.
And they have enough income to maintain?
So right now, I believe that they're looking at it and there's some overlap of interests. And I've got to give a real shout out to Lori Vaughn, Raouf Farid, Dave Marks, and Matt Longman. Those four have really done quite a bit in regards to looking at the condition of that marina. They've worked with us in the city to help them with some repairs. EDC's committed about $100,000 to help that out, and it's those four people were key to that working. They've also said that marina, particularly the legal liability, is very cumbersome. And if there was a way in which there was a partnership with the Hilton, and if the Hilton's looking at wanting to put in a marina, their interests may coincide. Way premature to say that anything is going to happen with that. I don't want there to be expectations that there's things here or that the city's doing anything for Val Harbor without them, but they've both expressed an interest that if there's a way to go to floating docks and they're going to do that, maybe it's better they both participate than doing something separately each way. And I'm hopeful of that because I actually believe there's a lot of hotels have looked at, outsourcing or contracting people to run things for them rather than managing it themselves. And, but it's too early to say. Same thing with the tennis courts or things like that. If there's an overlap of interest, I think both parties are interested in exploring that. But that will be a Val Harbor decision. City can only impact that because we've got a war chest over in our hotel motel tax fund to be able to grease those wheels, if I were to say it that way. But
It's such a big complex. I wondered how the homeowners association could afford to.
I think they're feeling those stresses, Becky. I really do. I think there's been a lot of emotion as well as activity, even just recently over Val Harbor around just fees and things like that. And a lot of that's driven by what's going on at the marina. From what I know, I don't want to inject myself because that's really those are Val Harbor things. And if the city can help out in any way, just like we help out the Nassau Bay Homeowners Association, I really believe a collaborative effort between those different parties, we're stronger together than apart.
I like that too. I'm glad of that. And I'm wondering if y'all have seen the first newsletter that's come out from the Nassau Bay Homes Association.
I heard it was coming out. I don't have a copy of it yet.
Right
So.
now it's online.
Oh, online.
Is it online?
It's online.
Okay.
I included a copy of it in each of your
Thank you.
packets there.
Thank you.
But it's very informative and it's wonderful to see. They've needed this for a while.
And
No.
so you would have been sent,
Congratulations to Kenny.
you would have been sent to your personal email for the 900 homeowners that are in the Nassau Bay Homeowners Association. Email was sent out a couple of days ago with the link for the newsletter. The first
Okay.
one will come out quarterly.
I think I did see that actually. I did see that.
So it's a good start. Good
Yeah, it is.
communication.
It is. But I mean, I think that's the position of this council is that if we can help out the homeowners associations, because at the end of the day, we're all, even though it may be one part or the other, we're all citizens of Nassau Bay. It's our same tax base, it's the same things, but each of us have certain powers that exceed the other depending on what the topic is. So if we can work together, we can kind of defray, taxes, or if we have authority, like I don't want to get into whether I'm for or against STRs, I think people know, but I mean, the homeowners associations have a great deal more power and my power to give regulatory oversight is probably going to be less and less as time goes forward.
And
So-
that happens in so many cases. I've been discovering where the HOA has rules and policies about certain things, and the city does not. For instance, security cameras.
Yeah, correct.
The city has no ordinance for security cameras. The homeowners association does.
The first one that's gonna be there is gonna be our flock system for that.
That's great.
So,
I'm happy.
but, you're right. I mean, in general, you're right. So,
And the same generators that I've been trying to discuss and hoping the city would increase their setback distance,
yeah,
if
right.
nothing else, in their ordinance, because you don't have much of an ordinance for generators, but
Not
now
much.
the HOA does.
Yeah, correct.
Hey, Mayor, at your meeting in Dallas, was the flock camera systems, was that a big topic of discussion?
Other than the fact that we are probably one of the few that don't have it. Just honestly. And that's gonna be a topic at our city council meeting, because I think I personally, but I think council and I think staff wants to give people an indication of how that can help and allay some unfounded concerns around privacy. Is I think a lot of people think that it's could be a monitoring tool for everybody on there. It really goes to what gets picked up on as an illegal, license plate, not every license plate. So, but anyways,
I have one other request.
okay,
And on the NASA Bay website, I have gone through various committees that we have. When are the committee heads going to print who's on the committee?
yeah. So
On the website.
one of the things here, and you're clairvoyant. One of the topics is we're gonna set up a workshop, because I think there's been people who have communicated, there's just not a lot of information, even with a cyber attack. Some of the thread between the terms and the stagger is in question, and we've been trying to do this at my position, and that's why it's on the agenda, is we need to have a workshop just to put a stake in the ground, and whatever we come up with, that is what's going to be, and that will be the rules of the game, and that will be how we determine whose term is expired, whose terms.
No, I'm not talking about that, but the current committees we have, we don't know who's on them.
So, and as well as to communicate who's on them. So I
So
just,
that we can communicate with them,
yeah, fair enough.
especially if we know who the person is.
Yeah, fair enough. But there's gonna be a workshop to just nail this, because it's in bits and pieces, and it's one of the, I'd say, tragedies of the cyber attack is that we just don't have a thread here.
Yeah, but this was even before the
Yeah,
cyber attack.
fair enough.
I think another way to say that, or my view of that, is the overall management of the website, or the ease of maintenance. Maintenance appears to be very difficult, because every time I go into the website, links are broken, and hard to find
Great.
things that's not there.
Fair criticism, Glenn, but fair
The
criticism.
maintenance, the architecture appears to be very weak relative to maintenance.
Yeah, there's
There
a,
are IT systems where you just drag a file in and it's there. It's not.
Yeah, the website has a lot of good information, a lot of outdated information. We're working through those things now. And so you'll see some changes on what the content is soon. We've done some of that already, but there's a lot of work to do on that. And so we're looking at that.
It's not nearly as dynamic. I mean, you can tell we're behind in the technology. There's no question. It used to be number one, and it is not. So, any other questions? Any other comments? Are we gonna be done early?
9:55.
Wow. What you got?
Does the city have any visibility into the commercial vacancy rates? And do we have any influence or control? Do we do any promotion or anything? Or how can we help increase occupancy, commercial
I was texting you about that.
properties.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't have a lot there, Glenn, just honestly. You know, it's been, you know, it's been my premise that, a lot of the reasons we have occupancy issues is we've got buildings that are outside their economic lifespan. That's probably not fair for the Methodist building because that's there and we know they've got some capacity. But, we don't have a lot. I see James.
Mr. Venables, if I can, we have inside of the PDC put out grants and like we do for John Allen for increasing their capacity at the end of line. And one of the things that we did bring out inside that EDC meeting that we had, the last one, was putting together a set of grants to bring in businesses that we'd like to help them move into our municipality.
Yeah, I heard his question a little bit differently, which was, but you're absolutely right, James. Is that what do we have to be able to monitor and have data around our, you know, vacancy rates would be another way of saying that.
Well, that's part one, and then part two, how can we help promote?
Yeah.
So to the first part there, work with BayHap and their real estate group that has connections with all the owners in our jurisdiction in regards to vacancies and what they can do to help us. I've been working with BayHap on that. It's been a little bit different than what was previously done. We didn't have anybody that was really talking to them about it. We worked pretty closely, so y'all know the site next to Wendy's. Just so you know, it was built and owned by a doctor. It is vacant, and even the realtor that is renting out, leasing it, they have not had anybody come into the market space for it.
The brand new one?
Yeah, the brand new one. And I've been working with the person at BayHap so that if they hear something, we hear something, and if we hear something, they have something. So they have to pull a permit to be able to go in, so we would know what business was going in. They're requesting a permit for that location.
Do you know what they're trying to charge for rent there?
I'm not sure.
I do,
What is it?
$4,800 a month. And that's just the rent. That doesn't include maintenance fees. That doesn't include, you know, all the other services. That's just basic rent.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. That's why I think they're vacant.
Which is why if you're charging that crazy amount of money, then you're gonna get like chains coming in, you know, because they're the only people that have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, they have moved. And the reason why they had moved from up there was because the owner of that property raised the rates there, the fees or lease fees for them, so they could not afford that location. So what we're seeing across Houston and we're seeing in other cities is a lot of businesses are pulling back from the investments that they previously made a few years ago, and the market's getting pretty stagnant on really new endeavors or new builds occurring out there, both residential and commercial.
Yeah, I mean, only comment I have there is, as we were going through the budget cycle, the commercial areas from Harris County Appraisal District was absolutely had a huge increase in the valuation of those properties.
Yeah.
I think it was 30%, not quite, but 30%.
Why,
Which
because
is-
they're coming up from COVID still? or-
I don't have an answer to that. All I know is, you know, when you look at our no new real, you know, our no new revenue, that's not going to apply to the hotel, you know, folks. It's going to be.
So to your point there, Mayor, is that in Harris County, they had a 35% increase for business rates.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is they have a lot of movement coming in. I would say pre-COVID that, but just with the market wise, the way everything is, nobody's moving on the market side in businesses and or in the real estate where you're seeing as much as stagnation. So other areas like San Antonio and Austin, they're getting the buildings that were supposedly going to be occupied by some of these larger corporations, they're not.
Yeah.
And they're having to figure out how to repurpose these new buildings for new utilization.
Any other questions?
No, good job on the mosquito spraying. And it's my understanding, Nathan, too, that the city of Nassau Bay, we do our own spraying, but we go off of Houston's schedule, but they don't Houston doesn't do any spraying for us. That's all Nassau Bay.
I was told that Harris County from time to time will show up in Nassau Bay, but they're not as prompt maybe as we would like. So that's why we started doing our own years ago. And so if they come in and say, hey, we're going to be there Monday, great, we'll have them spray and then we'll just shift a day. But I don't know if the city of Houston does anything. I was told it was Harris County, but we do our own.
Yeah, city of Houston.
We use our staff, we use our own equipment and acquire all the
And I
materials.
actually heard it last night,
Oh, good.
right about dark, and so I was like, whoa, okay, that's good, needed, you know,
Yeah.
so.
7 to
Especially
11.
with all the activities that we have coming up.
Yeah,
That's
7,
one good thing with the drought, right?
Right, exactly.
7 to 11 Tuesdays and Thursdays, possibly a
Noise
third night.
ordinance After 9 o'clock, so I'd like the mayor to look into winding down that.
Not on your life. Right, we had to actually put a guy who was spraying the mosquitoes coming to try to pick up the vehicle. It was like, there's some big mosquitoes out there.
Just real quick, Mr. Mayor, the 21st of October is a very, very, very heavy activity day for everybody across the city.
It is.
We've got more activities going on that day than we've ever had in Nassau Bay ever to date.
Yeah.
Which is we have the Bellingham inaugural run
Yep.
in the morning. We've got the trunk and treat. We've got the paddle for PTSD. And that, I just like to make a suggestion, maybe we turn that into Nassau Bay Volunteers Day. Since there's gonna be really a lot of need for volunteers.
I don't know if that'll be the case next year, but there's obviously gonna be a lot of volunteers working that.
You guys know what time that is? Because I looked.
Which one?
The Paddle of the Peninsula.
It's starting in the morning. Hang on a
Yeah.
second.
It's not posted on the, I mean, they have a nice advertisement on the city Facebook page, nothing lists the time. There's a whole
I
paragraph.
thought it was in the
nothing
morning.
lists the time.
I know it's in the morning. I
would
thought it was
assume
9
would be
o'clock.
8 a.m. or
It
9.
does, it does.
Okay. We know what
I've got
you
flyers right out.
Okay, I'll look at the thing because of everything I've seen has no.
But Sarah's right, the time's not posted. That's the most important thing.
I was gonna say, I was, but it didn't.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jim Stoa. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and Mayor, it's not too early to plan our next Astros World Series trophy celebration, since it looks like
All I
Nathan
know
will be
is.
here for that.
Yeah.
Hey, we even have a Rangers party.
We're gonna do what?
Right?
You know,
We can celebrate.
But
everybody.
that would assume that the Astros will get beat.
Well,
So 2 other things coming up, just for
Could
the
I
ordinance.
just address the time?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
It's in here.
It's on the newsletter?
It's on the new HOA
Oh.
newsletter.
What time?
And it says registration is 7:30 to 8:15. The launch is 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's what I remember. The launch was 9
I think
a.m.
they've got the QR code that if you
Yes.
scan that QR code, it'll give you the time.
Even still, I'm gonna give information to Jim to do that.
2 quick things. Tonight,
Thank you,
we
Beck.
have the open house for the volunteer fire department, I believe from
Yeah,
5 to 7.
yeah,
Six
correct.
days.
Six to eight.
You weren't here earlier, that was announced.
And then the other one is there is a pumpkin, either pumpkin painting or pumpkin carving with the police.
So at the thing tonight?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Okay.
Nathan, we had at the firehouse just a few years ago, they did the Jaws of Life. Had a demo car and actually did Jaws of Life, cutting that car. And I talked to Matt Roper and I said, that was so popular to kids. They can't do it every year because it costs to get a donated car, It was incredible.
It was.
Yeah, I've seen
the
that
power
happen
of those
before, yeah.
things is
Mr.
something
Mayor,
else.
I recommend that we talk to Mr. Arafat, maybe he has some cars that he's got like,
Hey, James, let's just go grab one of those cars and bring it on in the firehouse.
Anything else? Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for all the
everybody.
good work. And Nathan, have you been here a month yet?
A month as of 2 days ago, yeah.
All
correct.
right.
Yeah.
Well, these are like dog years, so that's 7 months.
There you go, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Right.